From the Wise News Network studios, we are doing a Who Gives a Hoot segment and a Halloween segment. And can you guess what we are? We are owls. There you go, Jermaine. We're owls, and this is Who Gives a Hoot number 5, and we're celebrating Halloween. Halloween is coming up. We hope everyone has a happy Halloween. So stay tuned. We're going to have a great segment. We're going to talk about a lot of segments we filmed and all some good things coming up. I'm Rusty Wise.
I'm Mason Beam.
I'm Jermaine Gash.
And I'm Grace Smith.
Happy Halloween, and stay tuned for Who Gives a Hoot number 5. Well, now we have our mask off, so you can tell who we are. And Mason has his hair down. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but he loves his hair. How much hair do you have? How long is it?
Last time I measured it, it was 4 foot and 3 inches.
Okay. All righty. if he doesn't edit everything perfect, we've threatened to cut his hair off. So.
Yes.
Please save me.
Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this segment. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. Halloween's coming up. Hope everyone has a safe Halloween. But let's start off with Joey Miller, the wood carver up in Morganton. Very interesting guy. Very interesting. A lot of cool things. And what did you guys think?
Very talented guy. I wasn't able to attend, but wow, so many amazing pieces. It really does look like a museum. I know one of my favorite pieces were the Bible. The Bible's made out of wood. And also, I don't think that he created this one, but also the guitar toilet was so cool. A functional toilet.
Yeah, I thought it was a prop, but it was actually a functioning toilet. And everything, when you walk through, it was basically a museum, even though he lives there. It looked like a museum. You had to look real close to see if it was out of wood or if it was real.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Just like that cane that he was holding, the DeWalk.
Everyone in the segment, that his Bigfoot piece that we made, everyone's asking what that cane is, and everyone's saying, wah.
Yeah, he had a Bigfoot experience when he was a little boy. He talks about that. If you have not seen the segment, it's a cool segment. And his cane looks real.
Yes,
it looks like a
does.
DeWalt drill, but it's not. He made it in one day.
Yep.
That's what's crazy.
And the other thing that's really cool about him is that he does a lot of his wood carving with a Ziz wheel, or at least that's what he told us. So that's just a little bit extra, because you'd think he'd sit there with a knife or something. No.
Yeah, and I thought another thing that was very interesting about Joey Miller is that he's not just a master at wood carving. He worked in leather. He also did metalwork, painting, basically anything you could think of that involves a level of skill to craft. He could do anything he put his mind to. I mean, he was telling us that if he ever kind of got an idea for a project, but it wasn't something that he knew how to do, he would teach himself. Like, he had this beautiful gate that said Joey Miller's Cabin or Miller's Cabin on it, all made out of metal. It was painted beautifully, painted a beautiful mountain scenery. And he said that he used a laser cutter to make that gate. And it was his first time ever working with metal. And it was beautiful.
And then another thing towards that point, like, his truck has ghost flames that he's painted on it himself. And he was telling us the story that, like, whenever he asked his friend for some advice, because his friend does that sort of thing, and his friend's like, you're not going to be able to do that. And Joey basically said, bet. So, I mean, that's not how he put it, but.
Yeah, and that's honestly kind of how he got started in wood carving to begin with, because he mentioned the story of this gentleman who would carve shoes and bring it to him when he was working in the furniture industry to polish. And then one of these days, this gentleman gave him a pair of the little carved shoes that he liked to make. Well, Joey went home to his wife that day, and she was like, oh, well, where'd you get that shoe? And Joey said, I carved it. That's when his wife was like, you could never carve something like that. He, the very next day, carved a shoe that looked almost identical to the one that was given to him by his friend. And that kind of just started his passion for it. He started working on the shoes, trying to perfect them, and then graduated to harder, more challenging things to carve. I think a lot of his talent comes from him just saying, you're going to tell me I can't do something, I'm going to prove that I can.
Yeah, and we kind of went in blind on that segment. We were contacted to go do a story on this wood carver, and we just kind of went in blind, didn't even know what he had carved. And what was funny about it is we had already seen his work at the Bigfoot Festival and didn't know it was him. And then when I saw the truck and kind of put two and two together, then he was at the Bigfoot Festival and he had a Bigfoot story to tell. And we finally found his place because we were using Google Maps or Apple Maps, and we were lost, and we were knocking on somebody's door. We don't know who they were.
Yeah, I think I scared him a little bit.
So we finally found his place, and it was a good segment. Turned out great. Very interesting guy, very talented.
Oh, yeah.
On the speed that he carves these things in just a day or two. It was
True
amazing.
artist.
Yeah. And then when we left, he gave us a little Bible to take, and he's very, very sweet. The whole family was.
Very, very nice.
And then the next segment we shot was the Rutherford County Animal Shelter piece. And Grace and Mason, you guys went on that. How was that?
Oh, it was a very, very enlightening segment that we covered. I'm an animal lover. I know Mason's an animal lover. I mean, I hope everyone's an animal lover. But when I found this story, I was scrolling on Facebook, saw a post to one of the town talks that we follow for story ideas. And this organization called the Animal Welfare Alliance of Rutherford had just posted something about a town hall meeting that they were having to kind of educate existing members, look for new members regarding animal rights in Rutherford County. So I thought it sounded interesting. I reached out to the organization and got in touch with Paula Hayes, their president, and she agreed to an interview. We sat down with her and just kind of talked about everything their organization is hoping to do. And they're an advocacy group, which means they're really involved in lobbying on a county level and on a state level to try and get legislation passed to protect animal rights. She told us so many heart-wrenching stories about cases that she's seen of animal abuse in the area, about people that she's conversed with. I mean, she mentioned the Hanser horse case, which, if you're not familiar, was just a horrible case of animal abuse against horses. And she really opened our eyes to how much this issue needs to be addressed. I mean, even that same day we showed up and we went to Heart of the Foothills Animal Shelter just trying to shoot some B-roll for our segment, and we couldn't have arrived at a more poignant time. As soon as we got there, the director of the shelter told us they had just taken in 5 animals, 5 puppies. They all looked to be under the ages of 5 that were next in line to be put down by their county animal shelter, not because they were sick or bad dogs or anything. It was just because of overcrowding, unfortunately. And it's a very real issue where if an animal shelter is overly crowded, the stray dogs and stray animals that they need to take in aren't just going to pause while they wait for those dogs to get fostered or adopted. It was really sad.
Yeah. And then speaking about fostering, Heart of the Foothills Animal Rescue does offer fostering programs if you're unable to adopt an animal, which can be extremely helpful towards them. It gives them more space for animals that can't be fostered or that need extra care. And if you are looking to adopt or foster an animal, definitely look towards them because they treat them very well. As soon as they come in, they give them all of the shots that sometimes get ignored at the county animal shelters, and they make sure they're healthy and clean.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I love that Paula said in that segment was it's not just an animal problem. It really does feed into so many other issues. So if you can help, please help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was a very important statement that Paula made, that animal abuse is oftentimes just the tip of the iceberg. And then she told us so many different statistics of if there's a reported animal abuse case, oftentimes that can also indicate that there might be domestic abuse or drug addiction involved as well. So I would say that a healthy animal population and animal community is indicative of positive and healthy communities among people as well, and vice versa. The same works.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't realize there were still dog fighting going on, and chicken fighting, and I guess those are sports that are still happening underground, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Very.
It
'Cause-
really is.
Even whenever you do think about dogfighting nowadays, you think of it as like this distant thing doesn't happen around here. And they're in Rutherford County and talking about how they're seeing it happen. So it's hidden, but it's there.
Or chickens, you go buy. Well, it used to be, people raise chickens now for eggs. But it used to be you go buy somewhere and they had 50 chickens. It's like, why do they have those chickens? It's just interesting. And I've always heard, and I believe in it, people that do not like animals bear watching. So, if you don't have a heart for animals, you probably don't have a heart for people either.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anything else on that?
I was just going to say, if you're in the area and you want to find out a way to get involved in helping with this issue, please reach out to Paula Hayes with the Animal Welfare Alliance of Rutherford County. AWAR is a great organization, and they're doing really positive things.
And I can't remember the contact info off the top of my head, but right here down on the banner, I'm also tell you how to get in touch with Heart of the Foothills Animal Rescue.
Go get a kitty or a puppy.
They're cute.
I know on the town talks all over the area, there's a missing dog or cat, or there's these cats or these dogs running loose.
Every day.
I guess it's becoming more and more of a real issue. So hopefully we can get that under control.
I hope so too.
And then next we went to some museums that weekend. We covered the Beam Truck Museum and the Carolina Freight reunion that they have every year, and a lot of fun to see the drivers and the office people, and met a lot of people, and it's pretty interesting. If you've never been to the Carolina Freight Museum, you ought to check it out. It's like one of the largest truck museum in the nation.
Yep.
And I think that was the 13th annual, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah, yeah, and they've had it every year. I think COVID they didn't have it for a couple of years. But they're back having that. Carolina Freight was very instrumental in the development of Cherryville in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And a lot of these parks that you see and a lot of these neighborhoods that you see were actually built during the Carolina Freight period when Cherryville, had a 2,500 employee business here that.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I think they said 11,000. Was it 11,000 people somewhere around there?
I think, yeah, across the country, I think they did have about 11,000 employees for the organization.
Yeah, they really grew very big in the 70s and 80s. Yeah. And I say the museum is still there. I think they're open on the weekends, I know. And you go to their website. And as we're doing our segment, Mason will put the information down below and how to get in touch with these museums.
Yep. They're also available by appointment. So if you can't make it on the weekends.
Yeah, a lot of people from out of town come to that museum.
It's one of the biggest in the nation. So
yeah, and then we went to the Phil Combs Museum the next day for basically a racing reunion, but it was dirt track and also NASCAR reunion. And met some famous people. Rex White, I think he's 94 years old. He's the oldest living NASCAR Hall of Fame member.
Yep. And I was looking at his racing statistics for the video that we were doing. He is impressive. Like
it's hundreds of wins. Yeah.
He has a higher win ratio than some of the other drivers we met that day.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Harry Gant. Met Harry Gant, and that was about a 30-minute interview, and Harry just kept talking and talking, but it was a very good, if you haven't watched the segment with Harry, that is the Phil Combs Museum, you ought to do that. It's very interesting. We interviewed Rex White, Robert Presley. We interviewed Robert. He actually took over Harry's ride.
We got two of the Skull Bandits.
Yeah, yeah, and Harry talks about how he drove and how he didn't like to wear gloves and how they put wood in the floorboard and how hot they got. And he's got some very interesting stories. So check that segment out if you've not.
I can't even imagine talking about the heat because he was saying that occasionally at the back windshield, it was measuring 180 in the cab.
Yeah, like 170, 180 in the back, So they would actually burn their hands and Ashley couldn't understand how they were getting so much burning on his face. Because they didn't wear, covered shields back then.
Yeah.
And the hands are getting burned in his hands. But he liked to feel the wheel with his fingers.
So he wouldn't wear any gloves.
Yeah, yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting segment. And talked to Robert Presley, and he was a county commissioner. So it very, very interesting segment.
I'm kind of into history, so one of my favorite things about that segment was learning how NASCAR racing and racing in general kind of got its start with running moonshine. That was very interesting to me. We talked to somebody who actually owns a moonshine distillery. I believe it's Bill Blair Jr.
Yep, that's it.
And he told a story about his father and how he kind of got his start racing and running moonshine, saying that he got caught one of these days by the authorities, got, put in county jail, had to go through trials, everything like that. And he said to the judge when everything was said and done, well, that's my last run. Like, I'll never run again, basically. And then several years later, his son actually started a moonshine company called Blair's Last Run, which I think is a very good full circle moment. Very, very cool.
Yeah, it was. And, NASCAR was started by moonshine running. Junior Johnson, North Wilkesboro, Virginia area, that's was a highly populated area for steels. And then they would go down to other cities and buy the sugar and stuff. And so just running not only was the moonshine run back and forth, but it's the sugar run back and forth and other things. And just running from the law. And Harry Gatt had a very interesting encounter with the law and got locked up hiding in a barn. And he had some interesting stories. So it was a good day.
It was very, very cool.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen that segment, just check out the Phil Combs Museum segment that we put out about a month ago. So.
Yeah, this is Wise News' second time at that.
Third time.
Third time.
Yeah, we
At
did
the Phil Combs Museum.
The fair. We did the fair exhibit that they just opened up. Yeah, went there a couple weeks before we shot that segment, and then we went and toured the whole museum about a year ago. Well, it was the beginning of this year. Yeah, yeah.
I actually ran into Phil last night or the night before last at Walmart.
Oh, did you?
And he was heading down to South Carolina this weekend for a race that was happening.
Cool.
So he told me to tell you guys, hey.
That's exciting.
Hi, Phil.
It's always nice talking to Phil.
Great guy.
But if you haven't been, I think he takes appointments so that you can. There's just all kind of neat stuff in there.
For Phil, he's told us that the easiest way to get a hold of him is to either use his personal Facebook or the Phil Combs Family Museum Facebook, and reach out to him through Messenger, and he'll get back to you and schedule your appointment if you want to visit the museum and see all of the racing history and paraphernalia.
He really does put a lot of work into keeping up that museum. That is actually just kind of right at his house as well. So if you haven't been, I would just definitely recommend checking it out.
Yeah. Well, while we were there, like I say, I spoke to Harry Gamp, and what was unique about Harry, he was just a down-to-earth worker. And I just did a radio show this morning with Tim Johnson, and Tim said up at Hickory, he was at a house, and they were roofing a house, and he said, that guy looks like Harry Gamp. And Harry had just won 2 races. This is back when he was winning races, and he told the owner of the house, said, that looks like Harry Gamp. He said, yeah, that's Harry. So the week after the race that he just won, he was up on a roofing a house, helping roof a house. So back then, they won races, then they went to work.
Get back to work. Yeah.
That's amazing. And he's still in good shape.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, early 80s, he still looked like he's in very good shape.
Yeah, he says he's got his farm now, and that he always tries to have the weekends off so he can make sure that the farm is tended to and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, and the steakhouse, he tried the steakhouse. Ran that for a number of years. And, it was interesting back then, the NASCAR drivers, they won races, then went to work through the week and then raced on the weekends. And back when Harry, in the heyday, early 90s, then that's when I guess NASCAR really got more professional. So now it's not like that. A lot more money. So I doubt you'll see endorsements. Which I guess some of the drivers might, do some work through the week, but they don't really have to. But back in the early days, they had to because they didn't win much money a lot of times. So they had to work through the week. Yeah. Interesting. So check that out. Yeah. Then talking about the Cleveland County Fair, It was our 1 year anniversary in the 99th Cleveland County Fair.
Yes.
Weirdly enough, the 99th Cleveland County Fair was also the 99th video I've made for the channel.
Wow.
That was coincidence completely, but still cool fact.
It's a lot of segments.
And now we're up to 150
Mm-hmm.
or over that now. So over 150 videos in about a year. So we've come a long way.
Yes, we
A lot
have.
of material to check out, guys.
What'd y'all think about the fair? I know y'all ate bad. I watch you guys eat bad.
Oh my gosh, the food is my favorite thing, hands down. It's a time to just go and just be a complete slob, eat whatever you want. I think we mentioned it in that segment. I had like a steak bowl.
The surf and turf
The
Sunday.
surf and turf
Turf.
Sunday.
Surf
Oh
and
my
turf
gosh.
Sunday.
It was so good. I was so afraid I was going to pay for it the next day, but I was actually okay.
That's good.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to get one of those, but I didn't end up doing it.
It did sound intriguing.
It's good. I've had them before.
It's so good.
The fries in them are perfect. The nacho cheese is great. Some of them have gravy too. Not the one you got though.
I really loved the acrobats. We what was that act called? I'm blanking on it, but I loved watching the acrobats. The woman at one point, she spun around on the trapeze from her neck.
Yeah, that was creepy or just
Yeah,
scary, I
crazy.
guess you could say.
Mhm.
That was insane.
Yeah.
I could never. My neck would not ever be that strong.
That's really scary. I went back the next day to see them again. And
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had on completely different
Oh,
outfits and
outfits.
garments. Yeah, so really cool. They're so talented.
Their little boy that they brought out, their son, he was a part of the act and he was very, very cute. Ran out, started dancing, threw some jokes at his dad. It was very funny.
And if you haven't visited the Cleveland County Fair this year, but you've been there in the past, don't worry. The zipper is still there, and it's still just as scary as ever. It ain't going anywhere. They took away a lot of the other rides, but the zipper, it's gonna last forever. Don't worry about that.
And make sure you check out that segment, guys, because if you're a Cleveland County native or have lived in this area for a very long time, some of the vendors there have been there for 30, 40, 50 plus years. So definitely check that out and hear their story.
That was one thing I really enjoyed about when you interviewed the Rutherford person.
Oh, yes.
Him talking about how he started working for them when he was 9, blowing up balloons, and then here he is as an adult, and he's watched people grow up, and he sees them every year.
Is that how you pronounce that?
Maybe.
I thought
Rutherford.
it was like Rethoffer or something. I don't
It
know.
could be.
The rides, the people that do the rides.
Correct me in the comments. Rethoffer?
Yeah, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been doing that fair as long as I can remember.
I've never seen another company in there since I've been a child.
Yeah.
So
I went to the state fair just a couple weeks ago, week before last, and they had like 3 different ride vendors there. But yeah, the main one was there. Then they had, I don't know, it was pretty unique because there might have been like 3 tilt-a-whirls. It was like there was 3 different vendors there,
gotcha.
and all kind of stuff to eat too. Just all
Only
kinda,
imagine.
all kind of bad. I got a deep fried Snickers bar.
Oh, you
Now-
finally cracked it.
Now I ate healthy. Well, I was going after ribs at the Cleveland County Fair, but they were not done.
Yeah.
So I got a piece of corn. So
And the water.
no, I can eat bad and the water, but at the state fair I got a deep fried Snicker bar and some barbecue, so I eat bad.
Well deserved.
Yeah, you got to eat bad when you go to the fair.
Got to.
I'd say that that's eating good.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But if you hadn't checked it out, check out the Cleveland County Fair segment, and I think it says 2024 at one section, but you know it's actually the 2023.
It was me from the future. He came in, worked for a day just to make sure everything was going to go well. And he's gone now. Everything's right again.
Yeah. And then Darren and Brooke Aldridge, the mural uptown Cherryville, North Carolina. We covered that.
That was a sweet story. I enjoyed that one a lot.
A big crowd. There's a big crowd there that night, and very talented. The whole band. They're very tight. Very good band. And Brooke and Darren live here in Cherryville, and you know I see them out and about, and they're on the road all the time, winning a lot of awards, and the Grand Ole Opry over 50 times there.
Yeah.
In fact, the mural that was just painted in downtown Cherryville is actually based on a photo of them that was taken at the Opry during one of their performances. So it's kind of like we have a piece of the Opry here with us now too.
Wow. And it was completed within 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
beautiful mural, 3 days.
I
And
think
done
they're
with
up for
spray
a-
paint.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're up for a Grammy, are they not?
They just posted on Facebook within the past couple of weeks that they are in consideration for nomination.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool.
I'm not exactly sure how the voting for that works, but if you're in the Academy and you are voting on nominations, Darren and Brooke, they
Yeah.
could be a good one.
But I did ask Darren how he got that genre, and he said there's just a lot of good pickers in the Cherryville area, and especially Shelby, and just a lot of good pickers, and he kind of picked up on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a unique, and we're proud of them, and the mural looks great.
Mhm.
It really does. You can really feel how proud everyone in Cherryville is of them, of those two.
Yeah.
They had a huge crowd and everyone was cheering, singing along. It was very beautiful.
Yeah, great segment. And then Guitar Wishes, we did that segment. Was it last week? I guess we did that
It was
segment.
last week.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, with the Apple Festival. And they had, their event going on and selling, the CDs for that. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so obviously, with the intention of putting everything out on the table, we kind of found this story while on Facebook. We noticed that there was a lot of discourse happening in the Lincolnton Town Talk about how Guitar Wishes was not going to be allowed to participate in the Apple Festival this year. So that just happened, I guess, this past Saturday, where the Apple Festival was going on not in conjunction. They weren't happening together, but on the same day, Guitar Wishes was holding an event selling CDs that would benefit Guitars for Vets, this organization that funds music lessons and instrument prices for veterans who, I guess, kind of they're helping these veterans get music lessons and guitars and all of that. So it was my understanding that the town was really rallying behind Guitar Wishes, offering a lot of support, and because they weren't going to be allowed to participate in the Apple Festival this year. And it's still kind of blurry to me. Unfortunately, after multiple attempts of reaching out to the Apple Festival, we did not get to hear back from them, so we did not really get their side of the story. It's my understanding that this disagreement kind of started last year based on a confusion that occurred with where Guitar Wishes was going to be able to set up shop for this event. It was an annual event, this CD release that they do for Guitars for Vets. And they had intended to set up shop just right in front of their store front. Apparently, there was a confusion with someone else getting scheduled there at the same time. And from Roger Calhoun's perspective, the owner of Guitar Wishes, he told me he thought that everything had just been sorted out. Then a year later, 2 weeks before the Apple Festival is going to occur again, they get notified that they're not going to be able to participate. When they had already planned to have that same CD release event occur that same weekend, there was a lot of money that went into it, a lot of travel expenses, a lot of funding that wasn't all for naught because the event still did occur. But to kind of create an event with the idea being, okay, it's going to happen during this festival and then have that not happen, I'm sure it was just kind of something he had to adjust to.
Yeah, and then during the segment, he was talking to us about the fact that he, even despite what was going on, he thought he was still going to have an increase in sales and the event would be bigger this year. But sort of as a follow-up on that, I did notice while I was reading his posts that he did say that it didn't do as well this year as it did last year. I think he said it was like a decrease of like 300% in sales, which it's sad, but hopefully it continues to gain some traction whenever he releases the digital version of the album on November 3rd.
I believe so, yes. And you can also, if you're interested in donating to Guitars for Vets, you can make a direct donation. Or I believe he might still be selling hard copies of the CD
Mhm.
at the store. I'm not exactly sure on that.
I think he is. And then the other cool thing about that is that Roger is also looking at making that store the local chapter of Guitar for Vets.
Hmm.
So it'll just be good to have a chapter around here and have people, veterans, mostly from Vietnam, isn't pretty much what it's focused on. Is it?
I
All?
believe he mentioned specifically Vietnam and Iraq.
Okay. Um, but it helps with PTSD if you're able to sit down, learn an instrument. And as a musician myself, it's definitely a good way to work out emotions. It just sitting down playing an instrument.
During the segment, we kind of walked in not knowing exactly what to expect, kind of just knowing about this disagreement that was occurring kind of on social media. And when we walked into the interview, I heard about all of the work that Roger had put into the event that they were hosting that weekend, all of the good that it was going to do. And kind of in my head, when writing the piece for it, I kind of just thought, since we haven't heard from anybody on the other side, I think that we could take this piece and make it more about how this organization is going to be benefited by what Roger and Guitar Wishes was doing. Although we are still kind of trying to reach out to the Lincolnton Apple Festival Committee to get their side of the story, because obviously everything that we do, we want it to be as fair and balanced as we can possibly make it. It's a little bit challenging when we're not getting the responses to these segments that we really need, but we're always open to include edits. We're always open to kind of backtrack on our work if we hear something new that is a different development of the story, and like going back through, reworking it, and including as much information as we possibly can.
Well, I've heard mixed reviews on these festivals that the towns have. I've talked to some of the merchants, and they do well if they can set out in front of their area or where they own. But if they can't, a lot of times you might have 50,000 people come through a place or a town, but they don't actually go into the stores, or they stay out on the road. So I know in the past, some of the merchants say the events actually hurt them because people don't actually come in their stores. They stay out on the main road. So it depends on the store. It depends on the festival, I think.
Honestly.
But to be able to set up in front of your business, I would think they would have the first shot at it.
Right.
I would
Yeah.
think,
Right.
I think maybe that's what they saw happened this year with the event, since they weren't able to set up in front of their storefront and they had to have all of the business just come into the shop while the festival was going on. It makes it seem like, okay, maybe they don't have anything going on if they don't have a stand set up, which I believe is what the original disagreement was kind of over starting last year as well.
Yeah. Like I say, in the past, I just talked to merchants, and actually the festivals actually hurt them sometimes, depending on how they can get their product out. If it has to stay in the store, maybe not so much, but if it can get out on the street where people can see it, I think they do pretty well. So every festival's different. Every festival's run different, but I wish we could get all sides of the story. We don't really like reporting on one side of a story, so that's kind of where that story just went, mainly for the CD sale. And next is the haunted pyramids.
So creepy.
That was interesting. Now we went in. I went in kind of blind. Mason had been before, but I didn't know what to expect. And we were invited by Chronic Disorder, which is a heavy metal thrash band, I guess you could say. And what'd you guys think?
Well, first thing I'm going to say, as someone who went to Burns High School and spent a lot of time in Lawndale, I am so happy to see a music festival there that's not even funny. First of all, it was awesome to have just a crazy male festival going on outside the Haunted Pyramids. And it was the first annual one. I really hope that they continue and that keeps going well and growing, because I don't know. I would like to see more music scene brought to the local area.
Well, Chronic Disorder, it's a 3 Cherville guys. One from Charlotte, then one from Lincoln County. And then if you haven't seen that segment, make sure to watch that segment. But it was interesting. Some thrash metal guys getting back together that really played in the Cherville area in the 90s. And to see them get back together, they were having a good time. And then the Blood Butcher band came on before them, and they were like a Kiss style. That was interesting.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
And then they wanted the stage lights to be red so badly during their song Blood Ritual. And through the magic of photo editing, I gave that to them in our segment.
Yes. Yeah, really cool to have that music element with the Haunted Pyramids. You know, growing up in Cleveland County, I had heard of the Haunted Pyramids my whole life, but I'd never actually gone until recently. So it was so much fun, you guys. I think there were about 6 different haunted houses, each having its own theme, from clowns to, just different things. And it was creepy, guys. Very well put together. The owners were wonderful. We got to interview them. So it's definitely a segment that you do not want to miss.
Yeah, Ari Lehman was there, and he did a great job on the interview, and he was the first Jason.
Yes.
Yep, the boy in the lake.
He's a splasher, not a thrasher.
But he was kind of the MC.
Yeah, and the boy came out of the lake on the first Friday the 13th, and you'll see that. It was actually Ari playing that role. Yeah. And then
he founded his band First Jason as well.
Yeah. Got a band, and there was some other bands that played when we were leaving, and it was very interesting.
And you had an interesting interview with someone as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Billy Redmond, which was the banjo player in Deliverance movie.
Yes.
And
Redeemed.
It was very interesting interview. You know, I was out there just waiting on him, and here comes this, thin, lanky guy, and he says, I got to take a break. It's getting hot in there. I need some fresh air. Then he strikes up a cigarette, and it's like, okay, I guess you're getting your fresh air.
Yeah, it appears that he could have really had maybe a career in acting if he really wanted it, but he actually said he had no interest in being an actor.
He said the only person he would go in another movie for was Tim Burton.
Yeah, and asked about the characters that he met, and he remembered Burt Reynolds, but he liked the Big Fish movie, and I haven't seen the part where he's in that movie. I need to watch it again. It's been years since I saw that movie.
Yeah.
But The Deliverance, it's an interesting movie. Arthur Smith had, he did the dueling banjos, but it was called Feuding Banjos, I think, when he did it. And he did a lot of the soundtrack in that movie with the banjo playing and stuff. So it's one of those iconic type scary. I mean, I guess it's scary, but it's really not scary. It's just a weird movie, I guess you could say.
I do think it was funny that the scariest part for Billy as a child was sitting up on the bridge and having to sit there and swing back and forth.
Well, he was up there swinging the guitar,
Yeah.
And when they went under him, down the river, and he said he was scared, but they went into the school and was looking for, young boys to play that character. And Billy fit the character. So, but, I kind of felt bad. I asked him, what kind of money did you receive? He said he got $500, no royalties, no residual income, because he was considered an extra.
Oh, he didn't speak.
Yeah, he didn't speak, but still, if you look at the cast, he's like 5th or 6th down as Lonnie, the banjo boy. So.
Yep.
And his scene, I mean, that scene.
Yeah, and it just $500 is all he ever got out of that.
Yeah.
And he wound up working after he finished the movies and got into odd jobs and wound up working at Walmart and finally retiring from Walmart. So it was just just kind of a sad that he only got $500.
Yeah. It's crazy having one line in a show or a movie can really shoot the rate up. Because I don't even think he'd be considered in SAG because he's never said anything. Unless he had some speaking roles in Big Fish. don't know.
Yeah, I think he was a banjo boy in that, I guess,
Okay.
or banjo man, I think is what the Big Fish, his role was in that. So anyway, but a lot of time movies, they shoot movies and they never know if they're going to do well or not.
Yeah.
Sometimes the movies that they don't think's going to do very well, they wind up doing really good. And they'll spend $500 million on this movie and it bombs.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Then you have the Blair Witch Project.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
I like the Blair Witch Project.
People actually thought that was true. Some of that.
I think I used to believe it was true too. I was a kid at the time.
That
Though.
was very cool. The found footage is very cool.
But now, one thing we haven't mentioned about the Haunted Pyramids yet was we saw a little something special driving up. When you're going down the road and you see one hearse, you're like, okay, maybe it's a funeral. And then there are two. And then it leads up to being, was it six?
I think.
Yeah. With an Uber sign.
Yeah.
I mean, this was just weird because I didn't know there was such thing as a hearse club.
Yeah.
And
There
then
is a
we're
hearse
going
club.
down these winding roads, and here we come around a curve, and here's 6 hearses. I thought it was a funeral.
At first I thought
So
it
I
was
slowed
too.
down. And then one had an Uber sign. I said, this is weird. And
Yeah.
the sun was going down. It's like, I really don't know where I'm going. It's like, what kind of people are we dealing with here? And then
Welcome to the Haunted Pyramids.
and I didn't think anything of it. And then we pulled in. They pulled in behind us. 'Cause
Yeah.
we were getting out of the van, and here comes the hearse club. And so we interviewed them, and there's such a thing as hearse clubs. So it's
It was cool.
but they did have a casket in the back.
Yeah, they
one.
did.
Yeah,
Ooh.
you got film of that,
Mm-hmm.
and just had Pennywise looking like he's driving, and the clown, and it's just weird.
Creepy.
I was talking to him about it because I've always wanted a hearse as a musician because I play upright bass, and you can put the upright bass on the rails for the caskets, and I've always wanted one for that purpose. And then they were talking to me like, oh yeah, it's really great, especially for like storing amps and stuff, because you can just pull the whole tray out. And
It's got the space.
Yeah.
You think you'll join the hearse club?
I might not join the club, but I'll probably eventually get a hearse just because I've always wanted one.
Okay, all righty. Well, it was fun, and then at the end we went through all the haunts. They call them haunts, and we went through and shot some footage. And just the place is old. It's creepy in itself. The floor's moving. I think I'm gonna fall through, and
Yeah, it's really dark
you.
in there.
They don't touch you, but they'll scare you. You got scared a couple times. Jermaine, were you scared?
I definitely got scared a few times. You could feel the heat. I'm sure they weren't real chainsaws, but you could feel the heat from whatever they had on your arm,
Yeah.
as they would approach you. And that was pretty creepy.
Well, that's because it's still a thing spinning.
Yeah.
So that's why it's producing heat. There's still friction going on there. Congratulations to the 2 people that got me. First one, you did because I smiled at you and told you. And then the second one was the little girl in the snake room. I did not see her, and she snuck up and screamed, and she actually made me jump a little bit. So good job, you 2. Good job. Everyone else, step your game up.
Yeah, but you was kind of, you'd been there before though. You had an edge, so So anyway, it was fun. If you haven't been, it's worth going. Go early. I suggest go early because the line was 70, 80 deep the whole time we were there.
Yeah, there had to be, we guessed maybe around 1,000 at least.
Yeah,
attendees.
he estimated 800, but between that and the Metal Fest, there's 1,000 people.
Yeah.
They had to be. Yeah, and there were still people coming in when we were leaving.
Mm-hmm. They stay open until midnight taking tickets, and then they're open for another hour after they cut ticket sales
Yeah,
off.
and Billy said he didn't get out of there till after 1 o'clock.
Mhm.
Said he had very little sleep when I talked to him. Billy, the banjo boy. Now we had Ezra Way, the Nomad, and that was an interesting story. So tell us a little bit about Ezra.
That was very cool. So basically, Cherryville was being visited by this woman named Etzer who walks with a wagon basically everywhere she goes. She describes herself as nomadic, and in around 2020, she set off walking from Missouri to Florida, I believe she said. She walked from Missouri to Florida, and ever since then, she's just kind of been walking around with her wagon. She takes in animals that she comes across on her journey. She had 4 dogs. She had 4 sheep, a bunch of chickens, some
She had a
geese.
horse, didn't she?
Yes.
She's recently got the horse.
Yes, she recently adopted Aloria, who is going to help her by carrying the wagon on her back. And yeah, Etzer, she likes to walk where she's going, and she says that she was inspired because she's religious and wants to help, get the ministry of God out to the folks that she meets and encounters as she's walking. And she just had so many lovely stories for us. She told us stories about how people in their 90s who are quite old will maybe even like in hospice situations, their family will drive them out to her to like give them an opportunity to see something that they'd never seen before in their entire life. She's just telling all of these stories about how she's helped people, about how, she enjoys meeting people in new communities, how communities really rally behind her and give her a lot of assistance. And it was just something that you don't see every day. You very rarely see somebody who is actually walking hundreds and hundreds of miles to get to a destination. It was
she
really
pulling
cool.
the cart herself?
For
How
most
in
of
the
her
world was she
travels.
pulling that cart? It looks big and heavy to
It
me.
does.
Oh, it does.
How does she pull it?
I believe that this cart that she's currently using is a rather newer
Oh,
one.
okay.
I know that she used to have one that was collapsible before she really got all of the
Okay.
animals.
I thought if she's pulling that big
Some
cart,
strong legs.
She
I
had
know.
been.
with that
Yeah.
horse, she makes some good time with a horse. Now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that
I
she
didn't
will.
know. I thought she's pulling that big wagon.
I did too, because all of the research I'd done on her before interviewing her, it was all, videos of her pulling it herself with just I read an article that said at one point she had up to 30 animals.
Wow.
Cows, donkeys, sheep, horse now. It's just crazy.
I forgot to ask her if she still had the rat because I would have loved to play with the rat.
Oh, yeah.
A rat.
Yeah. She apparently did have a rat for a little while. But yeah, she was really cool. I mean, she butchers her own meat humanely.
Mm-hmm.
She makes her money by selling original jewelry, selling cheese that she makes from her animals, wild stock. She'll sell meat. She'll sell animals. Like, it's a very, very, I'd say, admirable way to live. I don't think I could ever personally do it, but it's really impressive to see the limits that people have and how strong people can be.
She mentioned that 99% of the community is all positive.
Oh, yeah.
Very, everyone understands they love what she's doing, but that 1%, you've always got that 1% at least, but there's a 1% of people who give her a hard time, who will attempt to call animal services on
Yeah.
her and stuff like that. But what she's doing is great and it's very respectable.
Oh, yeah.
It's really cool. She also has social media.
Yes.
she mentioned,
Yes,
so.
she does. You can find her. Her handle for all of her social media accounts is Walk the Way Nomadic Living. She's got a pretty sizable following on TikTok, and she constantly posts updates on Facebook. You can kind of track her, see how she's making her journey, and yeah, it was a very enlightening segment. I really enjoyed meeting her.
And then one of the cooler parts for me was whenever she was talking about her business strategies with selling jewelry is how she doesn't ever really have to worry about it not being able to sell it too much because she is constantly moving. She never saturates the market in any area with too much stuff. So she's normally pretty able to find more people to sell to and help keep her money up. And then also the other thing she's planning on starting to do, which she's not started yet, is with her butchering talent, she also wanted to find people that either wanted to learn how to butcher animals or people that just didn't have the heart for it and then do the butchering for them. And then she even said that she wasn't really after getting paid for the butchering, maybe just a little bit of the meat.
Yeah.
And
that's what I thought was very interesting as well. It's a lot of, she mentioned that she'll do odd jobs, volunteering, working on farms as she walks, not necessarily for money, but just for like a place to stay or a plate of food. She really is living her life nomadically because she any kind of opportunity that she has to get resources, she's getting those resources. She's taking that opportunity. And a lot of it comes from community members who just want to help out. You know, like the folks that she stayed with while she was here in Cherryville own a farm here, and they just kind of let her stay on their property, let her animals graze in their property, and helped her out, helped her with the welding on her wagon, introduced her to people around here, and these are friends that she'll probably have for the rest of her life. You know,
So awesome.
if she's ever walking through Cherryville again, she knows that she can stop with them. It's very cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a unique story. Very unique. Speaking of Cherryville, we've got a few Cherryville stories going on. The new gym, you know, they're got $1.5 million from Gaston County to build a new gym. And we touched on, you know, Nixon Gym not having air conditioning. And so Cherryville's getting a new gym, a new splash pad, I think, a $500,000 splash pad. So Cherryville's like it's won the lottery.
Yeah.
It's got to spend all his money.
And then for anyone wondering where the new gym is going, it's going to be on Academy across from Oak Street. There's if you go look at it, it's pretty easy to figure out where it's going. There's a pretty big field in the area beside some of the houses. And the other thing, the splash pad, if you want to know something, if you want to see something similar to it, the same person who built the Dallas splash pad, I believe, is the one they've contracted to build the Cherryville one. So if you want to see what it might around, it's going to look different because the Cherryville one's going to be baseball themed, or so far that's the plan. But if you want to see something what that might look like, check out Dallas's.
And the gym's going to be designed after Stanley's.
Yes,
Yes.
the
Tug Deason
the Tug
gym. Yeah. So, and we put a picture of our segment on there, the article that Grace wrote. So check out our articles. We have videos. We also have articles. So check out our articles on the website. It's under the articles tab. So check out the articles. And if it has a video, there'll be a link in there to the videos. So we're
It's the
doing
web.
articles and videos.
Yeah. So if you just can't get enough.
Yeah.
There's always content.
And the Cherryville Museum, the court date we saw on the docket is November the 6th.
yes, it is.
So maybe it will finally be put to bed. Finally, we think. Who knows? I
We
don't
will
know.
see.
It's been ongoing all year. Hopefully, get all this settled by the end of the year.
Hopefully.
Well, something has to happen. I know that the last update was the 31st. That
Yeah, the museum is supposed to be out by the 31st. So hopefully, the court will decide on what happens, and all this can be put behind. And hopefully, whatever's going to be in the museum, whether it stays a museum, I don't think it's going to be a restaurant now. At least that's what I was told.
yeah.
And we keep hearing that it might stay the museum. So maybe that's what's going to happen. Except we haven't seen anything in writing. Nobody will put anything in writing to say what it will be. So I do not know what's going to happen.
Hopefully we'll see something soon on that. Maybe after the court date.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Piedmont Lithium, they're still at it. You know, we went to their town hall a couple weeks ago. That was interesting. They had two during the day. Well, let's see. One was during the morning, one was in the afternoon. And I think they're going to do another one sometime in the evening in November.
Okay.
Yes, there should be another town hall coming up in November for those who couldn't make it during the daytime hours.
Yeah, so we're going to be running stories on that. We walked through and looked at stuff. We asked a lot of interesting questions. We got some interesting answers or non-answers. It was an interesting piece. Just stay tuned for more on Piedmont Lithium. Their stock is falling like a brick. I don't know why, but it's not doing very good. So their value went from 1.1 billion to 500 million. So it's their value has dropped in half. So.
It dropped another $2 since yesterday.
Oh, did it?
Yep, it's down 27.
So I don't know what's happening with Piedmont Lithium stock, but it's fell through the roof, and I don't know what's happening. But there's been a lot of stories. I know Toyota release, the car manufacturers, the EV sales are not there.
Yeah.
They're some of the, I think Ford and some of the other manufacturers are going back to hybrids
Yes.
because they're finding out that the homeowner, they'll buy one EV, but they're scared to buy two EVs,
Mhm.
and the range is not there.
Yes.
You until they get the range at 500 miles or something, or 300 miles on these things, it's going to be tough. So the car manufacturers are going like, well, we're going back to hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if the demand's going to be as high as they thought it was. Our electrical infrastructure can't handle it, and so the price of lithium, especially Piedmont Lithium, their stock has gone down. So I don't really know what's happening. I know it's interesting, but there's a lot of news stories coming out. Is this EV? What is the true demand going to be? Because I know Toyota's working on ammonia engines. Uh, there's even some other battery manufacturers that are starting to make batteries out of elements other than lithium.
Yeah.
So, it will be something else probably.
One thing kind of on the same topic is one of the more interesting things I've saw is that I can't remember which company it is, but they're working on making electric cars that have removable cells in them so that's been one of the big issues with them is that you have to get the entire battery replaced, and the battery it's like normally around 15K. But now if one of the cells goes out, they're planning on putting it in the bumper of the vehicle, and you literally just reach in, pull what looks like a giant battery. Literally, they're making them tubular, so it looks like a giant AA or something. Well, I don't
So
know.
it's interchangeable, kind of like a cordless drill. You just
Yeah.
slap a new battery pack.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Also, that could work very well for charging purposes because you could have more than one set of batteries and just.
Mhm.
That is interesting.
Well, it's EVs and electric. I mean, we're using them in our power tools. It's just they just don't have the longevity yet,
Mm-hmm.
and people are a little nervous switching to all electric. And it's just a little nervousness of the consumer, I think.
There's that, and then like you were talking about earlier, with the infrastructure. Is there even an electric charge station in Cherryville?
There's one at the chamber. Uptown,
Okay.
yeah.
But still, there's one, so you're getting it installed in your house if you get one.
Yeah, and I think right now, until they get the range up, most people are going to plug it in at their home and go to work
Mm-hmm.
in a short distance. That's what people are going to use them for. I don't know if I'd want to strike out across the U.S. with an EV, and try to make it to California. And I mean, you'd have to really
Yeah,
plan your
that
trip.
I was
See,
gonna
like,
ask.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious, how many miles do these batteries have on them before you have to recharge them? Would they be able to kind of sustain a road trip? My family, we road trip everywhere. I haven't been on an airplane probably in 10 years. So we would, like, if we were to switch over to an electric vehicle, we would need to make sure that it could take us the entire way that we're going whenever we do trips.
Well, you're only going to get, what is the range, 200 to 300 miles?
Mhm.
And, I mean, you can't. And then the longer you charge a battery, the efficiency decreases. So in 10 years, they recommend changing the whole battery pack.
Yes, which is pretty much the cost.
I know it's a noble effort for clean energy, but right now, something's happening in the industry, in the vehicle manufacturers.
Yeah.
It's not clean energy though, because we're still using gas to power the generators that are powering the electric vehicles.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And then we're kind of living in the area that'll see, what is the price of the clean energy with, everything with the proposed mines. Obviously, I've recently gotten my hands on some of the permits. I'm still looking through all of those. But, it'll be interesting to see in the coming months, what could the price of renewable green energy be here with this mine that's opening up, with everything that's kind of happening. How will it affect our waterways? How will it affect our air quality? And so it'll be interesting to see how these kind of stories keep developing as we get more information.
Well, the Piedmont Lithium Mine will be the largest mine in the U.S. as far as lithium open pit mine.
Yes.
They have really nothing to compare it to in the U.S. as how safe or how dangerous it will be.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't know. That's unknown so far. So it would be nice to have a study said, oh yeah, we dug this 500-foot hole and we had this amount of arsenic and it was this amount in the air and have something to compare
Right.
it to.
Yeah.
So right now it's just unknown. Don't really know what's going to happen with the heavy metals, with the radioactive, with the carcinogens. You know, when you open up Pandora's box, you don't know what you're opening up from the earth, so to speak. So, but it is interesting. The CEO wouldn't talk to us. I don't really understand that. It's supposed to be a town hall, but we were the media, and it's like everybody's deer in the headlights, and it's like, you know, we ain't don't have time. You know, so it just, I don't know. It was interesting town hall meeting. I wouldn't even call it a town hall. I don't even know what that was.
It was like science fair styled. They had booths set up where citizens attending the town hall could go up to each booth and talk to each kind of expert in their field. And I believe that they were trying to make it a more personable kind of experience and interaction, where if you had specific questions, you could very easily go find, oh, let's go talk to the water quality people. Let's go talk to the geologists, you know.
Yeah, but the questions I asked, they said, I don't know. You have to go ask them. And then I was asking the blasting guy, he had some stuff that looked like Vaseline. It was just, you know, Vaseline looking stuff. And, oh, I can't talk to you. Because I'm the media. I had a media badge. Oh, I can't talk to you. I'm just asking you what this is.
Yeah.
It's like.
It's not like you're not a cheerful citizen, too.
I know. I mean, you know, I've lived here all my life, and it's like I have questions. And, you know, give me an example where another open pit lithium mine is with population around it. Nothing.
Yeah, they kept pulling like, well, I live near an open pit mine. And it's like, is it lithium? They're like, no.
Well, a gold and silver mine, some of these mines you can go swimming in. I mean, you can actually make a park out of it. When you mine lithium, you're going to have an arsenic hole. I mean, call it what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you will not be able to go in there. And is it going to be a brownfield? Well, we don't know. I mean, a brownfield is an area that is contaminated and you can't build on it.
Yeah.
And probably this will be a brownfield.
They had one of those booths there that was showing images of what could come out of the site after, you know, its life cycle has kind of run out. They did have a booth set up with different images of what they could do. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on it.
Yeah, it was like a golf course and a mound and grass and
like some kind of park. It looked like.
And maybe, I mean,
these
brownfields, you can walk on them. You just can't build anything on them because they're contaminated. And I don't know if it'll wind up being a brownfield or not. I don't know. That's the unknown. It just, nobody can really tell you what it's going to be. But I know, lithium is a anomaly, a volcanic rock anomaly, and then it's found in different parts of the world. I think this vein is relatively small compared to veins in Australia. And how they told us is like the vein here might be 12 to 30 inches. Whereas in Australia, it's in feet. It might be 30 to 100 feet.
Yeah.
Vein. So it's such more abundant overseas than it is here.
It's definitely important to just continue asking questions. So.
Yeah, but you know, I was a little discouraged because 99% of the questions I asked, I didn't
Couldn't
get
be
answered, and that's you know,
Yeah.
I didn't much care for that. You know, it's just the deer in the headlight look when you ask them questions. You know, I just want to answer. Well, we don't know, or I don't know. You have to go talk to them. I don't know. But, you know,
Pretty important question.
My least favorite thing about all of it was whenever we start asking about heavy metals and they kept pulling it back to the arsenic. It's like, but there are other heavy metals than arsenic that can be of concern here. And they just kept pulling it back to the arsenic. And I was like, well.
So I don't know. There is a price to pay. It might be the greatest thing that happened to the Cherville area in Gaston County. It could be the best thing, or it could be the worst thing. It could be a nightmare. And I don't know. They are doing a very big PR campaign. Every day they're posting on what, and if they give away a cracker, they're going to tell you. So, I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, most of their time is spent marketing PR right now. And, you know, they do more than that and tell you exactly how the mine's going to affect everyone. So that's just, we're going to keep reporting on it and see what happens. It could be the best thing, could be the worst thing. We don't know.
Yep, still doing research, still talking to folks. If you have been affected or know anything and you want to come on a segment about it, give us an email at newsdesk@wisenews.com. Is that right?
WiseNewsNetwork.com.
Yeah.
Newsdesk@wisenewsnetwork.com.
And we're going to close with the election coming up. The election is November 7th. The only thing in the Cherryville area, or the Cherryville, is Malcolm Parker and Janice Hovis is running for that ward. So that's really the only contested race. So get out and vote. A lot of signs being put out by both of those candidates, Malcolm and Janice. So get out and vote. And it's coming up November 7th. And that's all the municipalities around. You probably have some kind of election going on in your city or town.
And this is just news for everybody in North Carolina. This year is the first year that they are requiring photo identification for voting. So we have an infographic posted on our social media if you are interested in looking at kind of what qualifies as a valid photo ID, but your basics. You've got your driver's license, you've got your passport, you've got your state ID. All of those are going to be valid. There's also some kind of rules put in place where, say, you lose your ID, say your ID gets stolen, say your wallet gets stolen. There are ways that you can still vote if you do not have a valid photo ID. You can request voter registration or voter ID from your county commissioners, I believe. And you can also request an exemption form. And you could really only become exempt from having no photo ID for voting if it was stolen, if you have maybe religious exemption from having photos taken of you. But there are still ways that you can submit your vote if you don't have valid ID. Just make sure to check out our infographic and see if you fall under any of those categories.
November 7th.
We appreciate all the tips and, the comments we get on segments. And we try to be fair and balanced on all our stories. But when only one side will talk, it makes it really hard for us to tell a complete story. We've been trying to get a hold of Gaston County School System on several stories, and we get nothing from Gaston County School System. So if you're listening out there, Gaston County School System, please get back to us. Because here's the thing, if you do not talk to the media will talk for you, regardless of what organization it is. So if you've got a story to tell, just say it. So when we try to run a story and one side won't talk, then all we have to do says, could not be reached for comment. So if you've got any stories, let us know. And if you're out there and we're trying to reach you, just be courteous and get back with us. You can ignore us, but we will not go away.
Yeah.
Easiest way to get rid of us is to tell us absolutely no.
Yeah.
If you ignore us, we're just going to keep asking.
I should be a fly for Halloween because I'm constantly pestering.
Yeah. But that's our goal, is to bring light to stories and tell stories that normally is not told, because, most of the news media today is sugar-coated and it's fluff stuff, and it's just really not a whole lot of information, or it's very, very one-sided. And
Yes.
we want all sides to the story.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you have segment ideas, definitely send them our way.
Well, how can they get in touch with us? Who wants to go with that?
So follow us on Wise News Network on all social media platforms. Do not forget to subscribe. I'm sure Mason is going to put that button somewhere.
I will.
Oh, you don't get it right. Where's it going?
I get right where it goes. It goes in the middle of the screen. But it's just sometimes we end up talking for like way too long for me to make it pop up right now. Maybe we won't this time. We'll find out.
Well, definitely follow us. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We even have TikTok. And as we mentioned earlier, if you can't get enough of Wise News Network, definitely check out the articles on our website as well.
Sounds great. Are we going to put our owl mask back on
It's only right
for the closeout?
It's only right.
These things are, I don't know if they're creepy or I don't know what they are.
Yeah, let us know, guys, in the comments what you think of our masks, our Halloween costumes.
I'm putting Ride of the Valkyries over this.
So from the Wise News Network studios, I'm Al Rusty Wise.
I'm Al Mason.
I'm Al Jermaine Gash.
And I'm Al Grace Smith.
Thanks for tuning in. Happy Halloween. From the Wise News Network studios, from the Wise News Network team, have a happy Halloween.
Or a Hootie Halloween.
Hoot hoot.
God.